Alright, so it's time to talk about the Lfire in the room again. As you're most likely aware, this is a trending topic in the West because the state of the game in Korea has been that the game has become too pay to win. And because Korea's unhappy, now a lot of the Western people are like, oh, it's time for me to complain too. Let me talk about what pisses me off the game, because now hopefully people won't just burn me at the stake. In my opinion, is always that feedback is good or bad. It is going to help you go into the right direction because you're going to see what are people like, what people hate. Historically, here on this channel, I do like to talk about the highs and lows and give that kind of feedback. So I think it's very fitting for me to compile and put together kind of everything that I randomly think about when I think about Lost Ark. Because the thing is, Lost Ark is still my favorite MMO of all time. There is no game that comes close. I've never committed this much to any single game in my life. And that is why seeing this constant decline of Lost Ark is just depressing. So I want to put together the major things that I think are holding Lost Ark down. So when it comes to things like raid entry and progression, Adi had a video about this and I really did agree with a lot of the points he said. So I do believe that normal should be very casual friendly. It should be very pug friendly. There should be almost a point where normal can be something that you can just hit the matchmake button. And then hard mode should retain its difficulty. However, when it comes to the rewards of normal versus hard, I do think they should be at least a little bit different. One of the main things is I don't ever think progression should be hard mode gated. I don't think there should be materials or upgrades or anything that you have to do that you can only get in hard mode and not normal. Hard mode should be a choice, not a requirement. So I think every power system should be completable on normal, but I do think that hard mode players should be able to get it done faster. I think the difference, I think completing your set or whatever maybe should only be about 2 weeks of difference if you're doing all normal versus all hard. I think getting to normal difficulty should be pretty affordable, effectively pushing the monetization of progression from normal to hard. And then when a new normal raid comes out, actually nerf everything up to that. I also do think having RNG chase cosmetics are good, mounts, background, etc. And I do think they should exist at normal, but just at a lower rate. Now, if you've been following the channel, you know I talk a great deal about alts and how they really just drive people to burning themselves out. With the current design of the game, I do think that 6 characters, a 6-man roster is too much. I think a 3-man roster would have been a lot healthier for people. The thing about Lost Ark is there isn't really enough content to play as an MMO as a single character. However, I think 6 characters is just too much. It is subjective, that is how I feel, but I also observe a lot of people burning out and quitting over just the overall amount of playtime they feel like they have to have playing this game. Playing a ton of alts should be just for fun. It shouldn't feel like it's something you have to do. Right now, we are seeing people convert towards playing more of the same class in the roster. One is they want to play their class more, but they're running out of content on it, so they're making more of the same main class. The other reason is because this game has become so expensive that it is so much easier to be able to share things like books and gems. Now, for fun, a cool system that I see in Vindictus. They made it so every character you get to level cap gives you an EXP boost across your account to get other characters to level cap. I do think it would be pretty interesting if we had a system where we had more people get to normal of the latest raid, that there would be a honing buff for them. Well, a honing buff for their alts. So that kind of helps promote the people who want to actually alt for fun as opposed to alting because they feel like they need to. Alts is just one thing like many other things where people can't control themselves, they can't manage themselves. Because the truth is you don't have to play 6 characters, you don't have to hardcore 6 characters and push them all to endgame. However, because it exists and because you can do it and that is quote unquote optimal, people are going to do it. Sometimes I do think you have to take away the gun so people stop shooting themselves in the foot. Alright, so now the fun one. Let's talk about cheating, botting, and RMT. We are far past the point where it's like, well, it doesn't affect me personally, so I don't really care. All of these things existing negatively affect the game. They set a false precedence to developers and publishers on what is an achievable progression, and since people are still wailing, but they're not giving their money to AGS Smilegate, they're gonna think, well, it's not pay to win enough. So if all these people are hitting hard mode without giving them money, they're gonna be like, oh, well, I guess honing's too easy. Cheating has always been a thing, and now we're seeing it in piloting. What I would love to see happen is they make an announcement, be like, hey, starting next patch, we are cracking down and we're gonna just start out banning people. Something like a 3-strike policy. Your first ban should be for a month, second ban for 6 months, third ban is just a perma. If you have already been banned twice, at least twice, your next ban's a perma. This is your only warning scenario. You will never be able to truly stop all these things from happening, cheating, botting, RMT. However, you can make a lot of people scared to actually go through with it. This fucking kingdom needs a little fear. And I don't think this should be a retroactive banning situation because, well, if you did really get rid of everybody who ever did anything wrong, there's a really high chance this game is going down to like 3 to 4 digit player base. So I think that giving everybody that one final chance to get their shit together and start giving them their money would probably be in their best interest. Now, good news to some degree. There is a lot of people saying, oh, I've been falsely banned or I have been banned for doing nothing. I know somebody in a little certain Red Shard Discord. There has been a bit of sharing about bans over there, all the way up to level 5. It is unclear right now if this is about the botting itself or it's from GeForce, because there has recently been problems with GeForce now, apparently. Unfortunately, if it is just all GeForce stuff, they will revert a lot of those. But like that one here that I'm going to show off, it does say it was quote unquote manually looked at. While I think it's highly unlikely that they're manually looking at things, I hope it's true. So yeah, hopefully this is a sign that they are actually taking things a bit more seriously. Busing is an interesting topic because this is a re-recording because they actually just made it so you can't advertise busing in Party Finder. Actual AGSW and actually paying attention to feedback. Busing exposes and represents 2 issues with the game. So for drivers, this really shows how down bad people are for gold, which is a result of the monetization of the game. When it comes to passengers, this is a result of gatekeeping, which is a result of the difficulty of the game. It makes it harder for newer players to actually get into raids, so then they ride the bus. So if those 2 other aspects of the games are addressed, busing will be greatly reduced as a byproduct. And that is the best case scenario because you'll never get rid of buses, you'll never get rid of carries. But anything to do with piloting should be banned all around. I think if you enjoy a game and you have money that you want to spend and supporting the game that way with just spending it on the game, that's good. I'm going to be honest, I'm a few skins deep into Marvel Rivals already. And that's because I enjoy the game and I really love what the developers are doing. They announced a rank reset. The community said, we don't like that. They went back on it. People said, well, I don't have enough time to get gold to get my extra skins for the mid-season still. They pushed that back to the end of the season too. So I'm willing to support developers like that by buying things that I actually do want. Now, the issue with Lost Ark and swiping legitly and giving AGS your money is the shop is ass. Like, even if you want to target one certain resource or anything out of the shop, you can't because it's always bundled with a bunch of other garbage. And even to my super hyper Omega Whale friends who, like, one of them just dropped like $800 in monetization in another game, they stopped whaling in the Lost Ark gas shop because they just felt like they were getting scammed out of their money because they just weren't getting enough for their money. And that leads people to RMT because they're getting like 8 times more for their money. Which that is kind of unavoidable. RMT will always be cheaper than buying legit. That's just what they do. They undercut. But I think my friend really shows that people do want to spend a lot of money on the game, but they just don't feel like it's good enough. Me, for example, I'll buy maybe one outfit, the pack or whatever, when it releases if I like the outfit, and that's it. I used to collect pretty much all the wallpapers. Now I'm missing a few. Realistically, I want 3 to 4 of these outfits probably because I play different classes. So I usually just get the one I want the most, and then I'll see if there's a pretty decent deal in the marketplace coming up later down the weeks. If not, oh well. However, if all these things were even like half price, I probably would have bought 3 to 4. Because just how things are, I don't feel like I'm getting enough for my money. So what I'm trying to say is people are willing to spend money, but just not at the value they are getting on the official shop. So I think the value of swiping should be changed. I think people should be getting like double rewards or half the price basically through just swiping. I think that along with actual banning people and giving people consequences for RMTing will actually just skyrocket. Now, I want to talk about really the whole West versus KR problems. Most of you are Coddy fans. A lot of you probably watched me through his channel. And he had a video talking about how the West isn't as pay to win as Korea, and that's not what we should be talking about kind of to a degree. While I do agree with him that we are not as pay to win as Korea, because we do have things like the Frontier system. Additionally, we always get the nerf content on launch. On top of that, we also get class releases and balance patches earlier in the life of the game usually than KR did. So it is factually true that we go into content stronger while they are also weaker. So it is true in the West, we don't have to be that juiced to do content. Now, where him and I differ is I don't think that alone negates the feeling that the game is pay to win to a lot of people. Or too pay to win, I should say. Because that line of too pay to win is just something you create. And we know that that line is further back in the West than it is in Korea. So in my eyes, the pay to win status in Korea doesn't matter to the West. Because at the end of the day, it's how the Western player base feels about the monetization of the game. And people play these games for their progression. They want to get stronger. They want to get better. The community that is left on Lost Ark is a bunch of DPS goblins just farming the meter. I don't think it's realistic to think a Lost Ark player is just going to become suddenly Mr. Ethical Gamer. They have been playing this game like this for years, and they're not going to stop now. And if they do stop, they're going to be quitting the game. Now, there are still a lot of quality of life and little things I'd love to see for Lost Ark. However, I do think these are the core paid points that are just rotting Lost Ark away from the inside. And the craziest and most depressing thing is, even if they did everything like this, it would at most only stop the bleeding. And this is the point where you're like, oh, here it goes dooming again. It's undeniable that Lost Ark is in a really bad state. The game is struggling to get new players because of a lot of the things we've talked about today, and almost everybody who has tried the game has quit. We did not see a huge player count rise with things as huge as Tier 4 or the Ignite servers. Now, I want to say that this did also happen with a big ban wave, so there are people who came and there are some people who were forcibly not able to log in for a little bit. Due to a consistent series of poor choices in management, Lost Ark has just lost a lot of its goodwill for anybody to ever want to play the game. And I think we're really at a point where it doesn't matter about getting new players right now because they're just going to quit anyways. Right now, I think the big focus should be stopping the ship from sinking before trying to get more people on it. Only then, and then consistently after, if we can see upwards trends, we could slowly regain. Lost Ark will never blow up like it did in launch. We'll never see that huge count. However, we can still rise slowly. But again, only if they were to make huge, massive changes to really change the gameplay experience, which I'm going to be honest, it's just not going to happen. Not until the game is on the verge of death in Korea. However, I just do like talking about this kind of stuff. I do wish for the timeline where they took proper care of this game. I do want to see the game make a comeback, no matter how unrealistic it is. TLDR, I want the game to do better even though it is highly unlikely. And let me know in the comments what other things you guys would like to see changed.